Good evening, everybody. This rainy, much needed rainy week. We are here at Tuesday, June 11th, Bluffton Town Council meeting. All of council is present. We will start by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Tuma?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come together tonight as a community to make decisions that will affect our town and our way of life here in Bluffton. Help us as leaders to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable and respectable way and be willing to listen to the concerns of others. God, let this meeting be productive, and thank you for your many blessings. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. First, we have adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes, Mr. Orlando?
No, ma'am.
Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We have 3 sets of minutes we need to approve. First are our regular meeting minutes of May 14th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Followed by workshop minutes of May 21st. Any changes? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. And the last are the workshop minutes of May 28th.
So moved.
Excuse me. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Before we do presentations, celebrations, and recognitions, we are Facebook live streaming. So it live streams throughout the meeting, and then it gets uploaded to our YouTube channel for an archive. So you can go back as long as this town hall's been open, and you can see past council meetings, I think other committee meetings, and anything we've had in this chamber. So wanted to get that out. First on the agenda is presentations, celebrations, and recognitions. And do we have, I know Dr. Corley is waiting on a student. Is someone here from Bluffton Middle School? Is Brooke here? Brooke, forward. And bring your family and your teacher with you. Are you alone? Good for you. Hey, come on, Sam. Bluffton Middle School. So we do a character, but we have to talk. We do a character trait of the month, and it's a program from the Beaufort County School District, and we do it in all the clusters. So of our cluster, of what I think are almost 12,000 children, elementary to high school, one student rises to the top every month. So you had a lot of children, all ages, over this character trait of forgiveness. So you were selected by your teachers and everyone at the district to receive this, and we like to celebrate this because we love our children. Off. So you get a coin that's very special. No one else gets one except students. And a certificate. Now, do you want to talk about why you got the character trait of the month? Talk in there.
Okay. I realized that a lot of people can make mistakes, even like teachers and students. And I think that it's not right to not forgive people after some things that they do. And I think it's just easier to have different types of relationships and to be happy with everybody.
Well said. You may sit up here and preach that to the choir every month, because that's what we believe as well. So get on it. She spoke for you. She didn't. No. She didn't need it. So, okay, come in. We'll get a picture. Wait, who are we looking at first? Thank you. I know we'll be seeing you more often on future ones. So have a great summer. The next is from Red Cedar, and I know Dr. Corley is here. has Luis Morales figure forward. Bring your family, friends, teacher, principal, whoever you have, Luis. And I don't think we'll be doing this for the next 2 months. Program. Luis, come right here. Get it where everybody can see you. So Luis, character trait, he goes to Red Cedar. What grade are you in? Grade, for responsibility and cooperation. Dr. Corley, or? Speak in here. Come on.
Used to being loud. Luis is a big brother to a brand new baby. And the baby came earlier than people expected, so Luis missed some school. And as soon as he got back to school, he made it a point to make sure that everything was all taken care of and he was ready to go, even though he had a perfect excuse for not doing his homework. He had all of that taken care of. He is the kind of person who, how did his teacher put it? She said, when others, let's see, his demeanor toward those who require reminders is always one of patience. Raise your hand if you were one of those people that he might have been patient with. Never mind, it's not important. That's right. But Luis is the kind of person you want to have sitting next to you in class because he's going to make you a better student. And we're very proud of him.
Thank you. Special recognition. Okay, moving on. Communications from mayor and council. I'll look to the left. Anything over here? Anything to the right? Good. Okay. We've had graduation. We've had prom. We have kicked off our distracted driving campaign with some great partnerships. Thank you, Chief Chapman. One being Peacock Auto Mall, who ran and did a video and is working on getting some placards to put in every car of the 500 they sell every month. 900 all over their whole entire Peacock Auto Mall companies. So they've been a really great partner on that, and more to come. So with that, we will move on to public comment. I don't have any in front of me. Kim, no public comment? No. Public comment is closed. Next, we have our public hearing and final reading on the consideration of an ordinance approving the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2020 proposed consolidated budget. Mr. Orlando. Thank you. Sorry. If I could make, while Mark is walking slowly back to his chair, if we could have Tricia Greathouse come here. Would you walk up behind? Come.
Do I get to sit in your chair tonight?
You can come sit in my chair.
Yes, please
But
do.
I think it's important, everyone,
But you have to stay.
everyone, we want you here. So we have lovely flowers for Tricia, who, I want to read all of this. Well, I'm going to read all this, and we can all talk about Tricia. Tricia is leaving us. Tricia has family issues in Pennsylvania, and she is a wonderful daughter to want to go back and help with her family. So how can you be upset? Our lips have kind of been poked out. But I want to talk about Tricia. She's been with the town 11 years and 11 months.
Yes, ma'am.
One more month. She's been here 12 years. She was our accountant from June 2007 to 2009. She was our finance manager from 2009 to May of 2014. She was our assistant director of finance and administration from 2014 to 2017. and she was Director of Finance Administration 2017 to present. She's had amazing awards with her incredible staff, and that is one thing I like about Tricia. It's not all her, it's everyone that surrounds her. Designated Certified Government Finance Officer by the state of South Carolina Finance Officers Association. That was 2010. You graduated from the 2010 leadership class of the Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber. You completed the Clemson Institute for Economic Community Development's Building a Community-Oriented Technology Incubation Program, Level 1 in 2012. You completed your ICMA's LEAD program in 2016, and you are a candidate for designation of the Certified Public Finance Officer by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. When do we hear about that? Will we hear soon?
I'm hoping.
When Matthew came, this wonderful woman told Shirley not to come in, and she put her hair up in a hat. She looked like a 12-year-old, running around, doing anything we needed her to do. And I'm just going to pass it off to everyone here, but we are going to miss you. This is on behalf of everyone in this room and on Facebook that's looking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jump in on anybody.
Just
Thank you.
privately, that, I will definitely miss her, and I will miss her.
All I can say is she has taught me a lot. She has made things so easy for a hard-headed person like me to understand, because I love numbers, and when they don't look right, I'm gonna dig into them. And smarter than I am, for sure. And I just wish her the best. And maybe once she gets everything straightened out, I put a little note on her card. We'll leave the light on for you. So maybe you'll come.
I want to agree that everything Larry said was true. But, she did help Larry. But,
Did she work remotely?
but I also, seriously, I do want to say that this town has a history of a great financial background. We have very high ratings financially for a community. As we know, we just rebuilt this town hall, and there's no debt carried on it, and it takes people behind the scenes to keep us out of trouble and to keep us moving forward financially, and you have done a job in doing that, and thank you.
Trish has shown tremendous knowledge. Anytime we needed something to answer, she didn't have to go look in the book. She could spill it out, and she could say where it is, and she knew where all the money was. Please don't take any with you.
Tricia, before you say that, you have to tell them what I call your name. What is your name that I use?
So he likes to call me Checkbook, and I appreciate it so much. And Bluffton has been an amazing home to me for 12 years, and just I'm moved by everything that I've accomplished and been able to do here, and very lucky to have served with all of you and all of you. So.
You may need some tissue. Hurry.
Poke your lip out. That'll get her to cry.
So thank you all very much. I appreciate it, and Bluffton, I will miss Bluffton the most. So.
On Facebook. Thank you. We also have a card, Tricia, and Kim will get that to you.
In the
as
mail.
well. It's somewhere. I saw it, but I don't know where it ended up. Okay, now, we should make her do this. Tricia's up the rest of the night. We just call her name. Okay, approving the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2020 proposed consolidated budget. We've had a first reading, 2 workshops, and this is our final reading and public hearing. So we can go to public hearing now and you jump in. Sure. We will have a first call for public comment on the public hearing for our Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2020 proposed consolidated budget. Second call for anyone who'd like to make a public comment at the public hearing for the 2020 proposed consolidated budget. Third and final call for anyone who'd like to make public comment during this public hearing for the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2020 proposed consolidated budget. Public hearing is closed. Mr. Orlando.
Ma'am, good evening, Mayor and Council. Realizing it is a public hearing, I will go through a lot of the detail that you heard about in first reading as well as the 2 workshops. So I'll get through the information. Slow me down if you need me to. So tonight, again, talk about some budget goals that we currently and over time have had. Take a look at the overall municipal budget and then highlight the review and approval process, which we're here tonight for second and final reading. So what are our budget goals? What did we set out to do starting as we prepared for the fiscal year 20? Really to deliver Town Council's strategic plan priorities, to improve our core services and existing programs, and you can see all of those on the screen. Really investing in civic space, facilities, and again, our environmental initiatives, train and support town employees, improve staff efficiencies, and overall build a resilient Bluffton community. Those have been our overarching goals for some years now. I examined them again once this year and realized that these are the same budget goals that I want to propose to you again. So, real quick, 4 funds: a general fund, stormwater, capital improvement, and debt service, for an overall $34,941,440 for the proposed fiscal year budget. That's close to a 10% reduction change from last year, from fiscal year 19. Large percentage of overall revenues, town revenues, not so specific to each different fund, but overall license permits, property taxes, and then you can see as you scroll down that long list what makes up that almost $35 million amount of funds. Proposing a budget to you, as I did first reading, with the millage remaining the same as last fiscal year at 38.5. The fee schedule remaining the same. It exceeds the general fund balance reserves, and we still maintain a AA1 or a AA+ bond rating, both from Moody's and S&P. Some highlights of the overall budget, and I'll dig down a little further in each different fund, but a lean operating budget. We are adding several staff members, and keep in mind we're reducing the overall budget. Our capital projects are diversified throughout our town. This supports the Affordable Housing Committee request for funds, the Beautification Committee request for funds, the May River Watershed Action Plan and MS4 implementation program, and our Don Ryan Center. Overall, those are the highlights. But as I dig down a little deeper, general fund, that's our operating money. Operating fund, as I mentioned, our mills remain at 38.5. 35.3 of those are for just general fund, and then 3.2 are for debt service. Mill value is increasing at $237, almost $238,000, and you can see where we've come from as just a few years ago in 2014 at about $141,000. We're now at $237, almost $238,000 as a mill value. General fund, license and permits, property taxes, and then all of those other funds underneath really make up that general fund budget of a little more than $20 million. 43% of those funds go to salaries, 19 benefits, and more or less the 29% to operating. And then you can see some outlay, capital outlay, as well as debt and transfer to CIP. Funding by department, you can see that our police department is 38% of our budget, all the way down to legislative, which is 1.2. Mayor and Council, this presentation, as well as all the others that I've had prior to this for the 2 workshops, as well first reading, will be on our website. So, getting in the weeds a little bit in terms of general fund, we've asked for 8 new positions, 4 police officers, 2 community police staff. They would work the historic district, patrolling, parking, docks, parks, and so on and so forth, special events. 2 in public works, and a part-time position in GIS coming on to full-time. It allows for a merit increase up to 5%. That's performance-based. Pays for the public employee benefit increase of 1%. Still allows, as we have in prior years, a PTO payout, so a paid time off, a vacation payout up to 25 hours if you're eligible. And we've also applied for grant applications for additional police officers, if we were successful in those grant applications, we would bring that forward to you for consideration in a budget amendment. General fund also supports all of our departments. You can see them up there. It's professional and technical certifications, executive leadership development, tuition reimbursement, supports the police department as well as our Let's See 43 initiative and campaign, and then supports software, public open space, council election in November, and then also some interagency strategic partnerships, our public defender, Palmetto Breeze, 14th Circuit Court Solicitor's Office request. Supports all of those funds. Technology, vehicles, and again, the Don Ryan Center. The town in general fund proposes that, or the proposed budget provides that $405,000 be provided to the revenues for Don Ryan Center to be used for salaries, benefits, space, and some contingency. Affordable Housing Work Plan also provides a total budget, town general fund, $180,000, and then it transfers some funds to CIP. It transfers second and third column to CIP, the 192, 8 plus the 557, 732 for an overall program through the Affordable Housing Committee, our community development program, for $930,000. It also fully funds the Beautification Committee work plan of $40,000 for plantings, as well as our Arbor Day event, and again, that maintains our Tree City USA recertification. Provides for 4 patrol vehicles replacement, 4 new for the officers, and then 2 new for the community policing. It also replaces 2 building inspector vehicles, and you can see some details up there that we've gone over at first reading as well as mowers for our for our public works, our public works department. And then it also takes $1 million and it transfers it to capital projects for housing, our Don Ryan Center upfit, which would be ready by the end of the year, our law enforcement center facility improvements. So the general fund, I'll take a deep breath, get a sip of water, and ask if you have any questions thus far.
One maybe request, and I know the budget's already there for Palmetto Breeze, but I think she should come and present to us. If you ask her and
I
get on a
absolutely
regular
will.
basis.
As a placeholder for the July agenda, I'll ask. Okay. Stormwater is really for the accounting of our stormwater utility fee. So the majority of the $2 million, a little more than $2 million budget comes from stormwater utility fees, proposed use of fund balance, some projected grant income for a budget of $2,051,695. Uses of funds, salary, benefits, operating, transfers out to general fund. The $60,000 you see is for stormwater related work, water quality related work, as well as a transfer out to capital projects for another $600,000. Dive, what are all those funds used for outside of that capital project? It's to continue to implement and overhaul the May River Watershed Action Plan, as well as our MS4 program. It adds a new full-time stormwater project manager for a lot of our ditch and channel canal maintenance issues that we have. We've proposed a new full-time person. And all the same things that you've seen in the general fund, employee merit increases, performance 5%, the 1% employer retirement increase, professional certifications and training for staff. And then as a little more is for drainage design easement acquisition. It also continues the USCB water quality monitoring partnership with USCB. It also adds some funds for microbial source tracking bacteria, but it's equipment. The word I was looking for is equipment, but thank you.
You gave him a good word.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for bailing me out.
It updates and overhauls the May River Watershed Action Plan. $230,000 used for water quality model for a portion of the May River headwaters. So you can see those sub-watersheds of Rosedew, Stony Duck, and Palmetto Bluff headwaters. It'll provide a water quality model. And then it will also update our watershed action plan to include more capital projects. Included in that will be some cost estimates for the long-term implementation of those through our capital improvement program. Mentioned the general fund support of $60,000, and then also the transfer out of $670, $722 to the Buck Island Simmonsville Phase 5 and Historic District Sewer Extension. Capital projects, again defined, anything over $5,000 except for roads, buildings, and computer software. That threshold's $50,000. That most of our revenues on this screen show grants, hospitality tax, general fund, debt service, and you can see in sort of a priority order of percent of budget where those funds are coming from for a total of 9.6, almost $9.7 million. 31% to parks, 23% to sewer, and you can see economic development, housing, pathways, road, land acquisition, and facilities that make up that 9.66147. A little more specific, no matter how I try to lay this out, I can't get every project on one page, but I know you can see it on your screens, and I know we can see this on our website in a handout. But you can see all the way at the top, it starts at land acquisition. All these projects, except for some near the bottom, which are shaded in gray, are projects that are already ongoing. The shade of gray shows up here, but not there. But the shade of gray really starts at
Bridge Street,
Bridge Street.
Streetscape.
Yeah, there we go. So Bridge Street's up there. So the new projects would be Bridge Street Streetscape, which is design and survey. Veterans Memorial at Buckwalter Place as part of our public-private partnership at Buckwalter Place. As the Don Ryan Center in St. Joe's come online, we'll be able to start that Veterans Memorial. In partnership, of course, and through an MOA that you all approved, the New Riverside Park and Barn site, slated for from master planning in fiscal year 20. We will kick that off first quarter into the second quarter of the fiscal year, but a lot of heavy work and heavy lifting will be for that New Riverside barn and the park and all of those lands that surround out there. The New River Trail, we'll kick that off early in the fiscal year. Miscellaneous park improvements, Town of Bluffton housing project that I mentioned earlier, some more improvements to Town Hall, some exterior work we need to do. I would say a facelift or an upfit of the Ulmer Auditorium. The TCL funds are in there. I made it very clear before that we will not transfer those funds unless and until TCL, as you asked them to when you pledged the $500,000, come back and present their project, their status, and how they're moving forward to you. But it is in our CIP for your consideration and their update. Community safety cameras and the New River Trail, some minor improvements. And so those are our new projects. They're definitely diversified throughout our town, starting on the left side, out in New Riverside, Jones, and the Palmetto Bluff area. You see those numbers on the screen. Those numbers really coincide with this index right here showing all 30 projects. So we have close to a $10 million capital project program and 30 projects. Some projects are several projects within themselves. So you can see all the way from New Riverside really ending at our historic district here. Those projects are diversified. So debt service is really for our principal and interest on our long-term debt obligations. Primary source of that is property tax, whether whether we're paying the debt on the GO bond for the law enforcement center or on the TIF bonds, which are for projects that were encumbered and incurred back in 2005. The primary revenue for that is property tax. You can see on this screen here, total principal and interest payment of $1.465296. You see that $533 and change is for the GO bond for a law enforcement center, and the remainder, the $931 and change, almost 932 is for our TIF district. That the revenues come from property tax in our TIF district and outside of it, MID fees as it's tied to the TIF, and then interest. Most part, we're paying our principal and interest. We're transferring out $968,764 to our capital program, and then we're also contributing to our fund balance $761,365, and so that makes up that total overall budget. So, summary. 4 different funds making up $34,941,440 presented to you. Second and final reading here tonight for your consideration.
Further questions? We've made no changes during the workshop. So this is what we saw at the last 2 workshops. Any thoughts, suggestions, questions?
Question, please.
Yes, sir.
On the vehicles that we're replacing for both the Public Works, auction, and then where do those dollars get pumped back in?
Dollars will just get pumped back into general fund through a budget amendment. Some of the cars were circling out, so a police car can go to Public Works because they won't put as many miles on it, or to the general staff. The ones that we can't salvage will sell. The ones that have been in the garage more than they've been on the road will sell, and the ones that still have a little bit of shelf life outside of a police department will be circulated through the different departments.
Give us an update on that as you do that. Let us know which ones you're keeping. I think that would help.
Absolutely.
Anything else? So, nothing else? This is the final reading. Is there a motion to approve the 2020 proposed consolidated municipal budget on second and final reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Again, thank you, everyone. Good job. Good way to end it, staff.
Thank you, Mark.
All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. On to formal items. We have a referral of a request by Village Park Homes for the acquisition of approximately 206 dwelling units from the town of Bluffton Development Rights Bank, and as well as the transfer of said units into the Jones Estate Development Agreement and New Riverside Concept Plan. For the development for the construction of affordable workforce housing within the Alston Park Master Plan. And the request, I guess, from Affordable Housing is to send this to the negotiating committee.
Yes, ma'am.
You're up.
Okay.
Mr. Akard.
That was a mouthful.
I was.
As you stated, we are here this evening for, it's a request. It's from Village Park Homes for the acquisition of approximately 206 of the residential dwelling units that are located in the town of Bluffton's Development Rights Bank, as well as the transfer of these units into the Jones Estate Development Agreement and the New Riverside Concept Plan for the construction of the workforce affordable housing within. So to give you some background, this request came from Village Park Homes to the Affordable Housing Committee at their April 2nd meeting, where they made a presentation, which was provided in your packet, showing how they are looking forward to trying to have some workforce and affordable housing. And they felt that they have a product or products that could meet that need for the town. So from the May 7th meeting that came back, and the Affordable Housing Committee did make a recommendation to forward this request to Town Council, which is why we're here this evening. Again, some additional background is a total of 282 units for the project for Phase 3. So the applicant currently has 76 units by right, and they're looking to request the 206 units. Have affordable units ranging from 60% AMI, or the area median income for Beaufort County, up to 100% AMI. So the property itself is known as Parcel 5A South, which is approximately 67.64 acres. And I'll have a plan here in a second just to give you reference of where it's located. This site is subject to the New Riverside Planned Unit Development Concept Plan as well as the Jones Estate Development Agreement. Again, they plan to have this as part of their Phase 3. So the request itself is for the acquisition of the 206 units from the Town of Bluffton's Development Rights Bank, reduction of fees for affordable housing, which per our code allows for approximately 25% reduction of fees for master plan application, development plan application, building permit applications, development agreement fees, the interim development agreement fee, and/or the boat ramp repair fee. Also for the transfer and/or commitment of the required Beaufort Jasper water sewer fees for water and wastewater capacity fee credits. And what they're willing to provide is the housing to meet the various AMIs for sale. That would be townhomes as well as single-family lots. To work with the town on the approved plan, as well as potentially placing deed restrictions on the portion of all of the houses that are then deemed affordable. To kind of give you an idea of where the property is located, on this map, you can see here is May River Road at the top. The roundabout at 170 and 46 is here. This is New Riverside Road. Alston Park is located here, which is adjacent to the Haven to the south, and to the west is Heritage at New Riverside. For a closer look, you can see here is Alston Park, the subject property here, and then here's the Haven. Also should note that the property to the west here is owned by the county for a future park. Detail, you can see the master plan for Alston Park. And there is a right-of-way that is already established to connect into the adjacent property that's owned by the county here. So Tract 5A South, or what's being proposed, would have a connection into this road and then ultimately into Alston. This is a conceptual design that the applicant has provided to us. It is a combination of townhome lots. I believe these are approximately 17-foot wide townhome lots. These are 20 to 24-foot wide townhome lots. These are 20-foot wide product homes on a approximately 30 to 40-foot wide lot, and then these would be 30-foot wide single-family homes here. Again, this is a conceptual plan that has not been officially reviewed by town staff. This was just to give you an idea of the updated 2019 AMI for Beaufort County. So what you can, and for the people that are in the audience, typically a family of four here, if you were making it $47,600, you'd be considered at 60% AMI. So it is a sliding scale based on the number of individuals in your family as well as the percentages of the AMI. So for a family of four, 100% or the area median income is $83,000. For our next steps, first, this evening would be town council would be referring by majority vote of this request to the negotiating committee for review, negotiation, and then a recommendation to Planning Commission. Some of the applications that will be necessary will be for Village Park Homes to submit for a transfer of development rights, a major amendment to the Jones Estate Development Agreement, a major amendment to the New Riverside Planned Unit Development Concept Plan. From there, this will go through the negotiating committee, the negotiations, and then ultimately with a recommendation to the Planning Commission. If there are any follow-ups through the negotiating committee, they can potentially go back there. And then it goes through the necessary process that we have for any changes to the planned unit developments, concept plans, or their development agreements. It goes to the Planning Commission for an informal workshop. From there, Planning Commission public hearing with a review and recommendation to Town Council. And then it would come in front of you again as a first reading, and then would include the conveyance of the 206 units, the transfer of the development rights from the town to Village Park Homes, specifically for the parcel 5A South, the amendment to the New Riverside concept plan, which increases the total number of allowed residential units, and then also the amendment to the Jones Estate Development Agreement to incorporate those units. From there, town manager and Village Park Homes would finalize, execute a purchase and sales agreement for those dwelling units, and then would come back to you at a second and final reading with the same information that I provided just a second ago. From there, then the ordinance would be approved, recorded through the town attorney, and then Village Park Homes, including the assignment and assumptions of rights and obligations for the development agreements that would be recorded, and then the affordable workforce housing agreement specifying the terms. And then obviously the execution and recording of the documents, and then once it's approved, they could submit the necessary applications for approval. So I'm happy to answer any of those questions that you may have. We do have a proposed motion in front of you. And I looking around earlier to see if someone from Village Park Homes was here, but it does not look like.
Somebody just raised their hand in the back.
Oh, okay, he showed up at the, okay, I didn't see him earlier. So Mr. Schwartz is here if you have any additional questions.
Questions? I'll throw out one if y'all are, I have a couple of questions. What is the current, I mean, there's not land that doesn't have a unit on it already. It's not just vacant land that doesn't have units. What are the units they currently have for this phase?
That's what I was.
Oh, okay. Because it's just, I didn't read it in here.
Right, so currently this parcel 5A South, which I have highlighted here,
Right.
they have the right to construct 76 units on that property. It's 67 acres, however, it's, I believe, approximately 40 acres that's uplands.
Okay, so it would be up to 40, okay. I'll let y'all have questions. I just was curious to get my numbers.
I already have my question.
Any questions over here? Are you comfortable with this going to the negotiating committee? I guess that's my first question to y'all, or is it something we can?
Back with more info and more ideas, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. The process that was laid out is intense, and it's a very public process. And there's many opportunities along the way to make tweaks and adjust, and I like the whole concept about the way it was laid out, that we would go about it, so I'm for it.
Well, I think it'll be more casual but intense, because this has been requested before, and this is outside. This is absolutely outside where our growth framework map says it is. So I think it's going to be very hard discussions, but I think we can get more information, and it's more of a chance for more people to come in and listen and talk rather than a formal setting like this. Just for the public, we are talking about a negotiating committee because we've had another request or two, and we are reforming our negotiating committee, and we're talking about applicants tonight, actually, in executive session, and we'll come out and we'll have a true committee formed again. And the last time we did it was with Village of Verdier 8 years ago, maybe 6-8 years ago. So it's not a guaranteed it happens, but it's definitely a good place to get a lot of more public around, because our people at the table will be private citizens as well as elected officials in chair of Planning Commission, chair of Affordable. So I'm fine with it. I don't know if we have any questions to ask until then, because I think that's where the questions will be asked. I had heard that Village Park Homes sold, so I don't know how relevant all this is if the new buyer can do all of this. So I guess that's a question when we get to this.
Yes, ma'am, and by no means am I going to speak on behalf of Village Park Homes, but yeah.
Kevin, if I could, I should know this. The county-owned property to the west?
Yes.
How big a parcel is that?
Ask me that. I believe it's somewhere upwards of 300
Yeah, I thought it was
acres.
300 or 400 acres. And they're planning it now for.
They are moving forward with how they called it. It's a passive park, primitive park. So that project will have to come.
300 acres is a
Yeah,
big park.
yeah. So it will, obviously that will come through the master plan process as well, and will come in front of you in the near future.
Let's.
How, it may be an unfair question at this point, but as far as the 60% versus the 100%, who makes that determination as to how many units are offered at the 60 and how many are offered at the 100?
Well, that would actually be the negotiating committee. So as of right now, the applicant has provided his proposal, so that would go in front of the negotiating committee, and at that point, it has an opportunity to sit down and really, hash out those recommendations for moving forward. So his proposal, he had various units at the 60, 70, 80, and 100 AMI. But again, he's even stated at the Affordable Housing Committee that he's happy to sit down and to talk with the negotiating committee regarding that.
Well, I have many more questions, but it's no sense to ask them tonight.
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
we can compile them. Is there a motion to send this to the negotiating committee, which the motion would be that Village Park Homes would like to acquire approximately 206 dwelling units from our development rights fee for affordable and workforce housing. So is there a motion to send that to the negotiating committee?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? There are items in the queue that are ahead of it. So it's not going to be the first thing on our list. Please know that, because we have one or two others that were ahead of it after this negotiating committee gets convened, but we'll go through it quickly as we can. Yes, sir.
I don't know what the items that are ahead of this in the queue, but this does have a time-sensitive to it, and I'd like Richard to come and speak to that, if he will. And this is something that the Affordable Housing Committee is strongly supporting. It sounds, I'm sure there's a lot of do's and don'ts that we want to work out as far as questions that you may have, but this is the closest thing that we've ever seen to truly trying to make an impact on quality of life for our Bluffton citizens.
Well, one is talking about affordable housing as well, so it's equally, and we've already committed to those. So, I mean, it's not going to be a year from now, but we're not going to, we've got to get our committee in place, and we've got to go through the ones that are in the queue. So it is important as it is. There's one other that also is talking about affordable housing. We've got to talk with on transfer units. The Hampton that wants to transfer and build affordable housing. Good evening. You can talk, but that's kind of where we are.
Sounds good. On that, that was a wonderful outline of the process. If the committee was together, how long with that process would take?
Have a timeline?
We don't have a
Oh,
timeline.
I thought you had kind of a breakdown of where it goes.
Yeah, we have a breakdown. Typically anywhere between, 8 to 12 months. Realistically, depending on, how meetings fall, there's potential to items up. So,
But I think on the negotiating committee, it's not going to be one meeting and done. It could be a couple of meetings, but I think you'll get a feel of the negotiation of where your comfort level is as well. Is it that number of units? I got a list of questions just listening to Kevin. How many units can you actually build there? We're not going to give more units than can be built, I doubt, anymore, because we have so many stray units out all over Bluffton. So we need to make sure that it actually can be built there. And then how many are we willing to do? What's your 80% currently is a question I had since you're standing up. What are you building now that already is 80%? Because you have mentioned that several times at affordable housing. So why give incentives when you're already building that? So maybe we need to look and see what it is that we really need. Those are just my one of 7 people with questions. So
Yeah, and I'm not sure we want to take up the time, but in the presentation that we gave the affordable housing, the layout in the preliminary land plan was approximately equal on each AMI section. what are the numbers on the right? Glasses aren't good enough, I need, but they were like 70, 70, and they were
It was
close.
72 of the townhome units here,
At the 60%.
Okay.
71 units for the townhome units here. Had 71 units for the single-family units here, and then 68 units.
Okay.
Yeah, we tried to meet what we heard and what they were looking for. We tried to even it out, knowing that you all might have different requests to do that. Time-sensitive nature is that one of the things that makes this a unique property to consider is that it's our property, and it's our property that we're putting up. It's our financing that we're putting up. And the opportunity became available because we control the property. And listening and working with the Affordable Housing Committee, we were trying to find solutions to some of the answers to their needs. Think about other people's properties and how can we go at this, and my experience as a developer, my experience as a home builder. And I had realized that we had not, later on in the process, I had realized that we have a parcel that we're about to plan, and that because of its nature at 76 units, they're very large home sites. I thought, oh, it's right in my backyard. We control this. We could contribute to the need. And Fred has been talking to me quite a bit on several parcels and RFP that was put out there for the parcel that you have. So we tried to use what we do best and what we've achieved. Most of the products in this plan, 3 of the 4, have been built in the town of Bluffton, meeting the AMI needs today. And so we have not met the 60% AMI because we have not built the 17-foot townhouse. We've not asked for credits on development fees and such. But we're close. What we did at midpoint in the townhouses at 175 met the 70% AMI need. So what we did in Southern Oaks. So we've achieved most of what we're requesting. So we believe that this is not some pie-in-the-sky opportunity. This is something we can achieve and also hit all of the AMI needs. And again, it's not meeting 100% of the needs for the rental needs. They have senior needs. This is a really nice opportunity that comes together because we have control and we have proven product right there that we can do. And I think that's really important for any municipality.
You were asking about timeline, but these are all things we're going to hit on. I don't think that other item that's ahead of you is going to take very long, and we've got to get established. We don't even know who our committee is until tonight. So I would think the first meeting we could have, I think Mark needs to give all of us an overview of what that committee does. So that's going to be a meeting. But depending on people's schedules, we're going to have it unanimous. We want everyone there. I would think we could meet by July, get it going, and maybe tag team. Maybe we do have 2 items that come up on an agenda, but we can't rush anything else, especially in a very critical area of our watershed. So they need to make sure all of that goes, and we'll have questions. So I think you'll get a good feeling maybe July and August. At least you'll know kind of and I don't know what the committee's going to think, but we'll make a recommendation, and hopefully a recommendation's been vetted where it'll go smoothly through planning and town council. But that is the process, and it's going to have to go through planning. It needs to be public with town council. So that's where he gets that 8-month-ish time frame from start to finish. So thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Got it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being so helpful with this committee, because you seem to be one of the very few, if not the only one, that is building it now. We just got to find a way to keep it. We've got to find a way in your communities how to keep it at that level and not let the market you know, get rid of our
Got a
needs.
covenant. He has agreed to the covenant.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sure. Okay, moving on to number 2. Item 10.2, consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, Taxation. This is second and final reading. Natalie, were there any changes from first reading to now?
There was a slight
Could you
change.
just go over those, please?
Okay, sounds good. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. The only update was to include the language of the up to 3 years without an automatic renewal for additional terms.
And that was added at first reading.
Yes,
Any
ma'am, it
other
was.
questions on this? If not, that was the change that is now on your new paperwork. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, Taxation as presented, which includes the additional wording up to 3 years without an automatic renewal for additional terms to Section 2419B2?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. You're still up, Natalie. I want to thank Tricia, do it. Next is our agreement between the Town of Bluffton and the designated marketing organization.
Yes, so it's a new process than what you're typically used to seeing. The town submitted an RFP for DMOs on March 13th, 2019. There was a review committee that reviewed the submittals. The review committee then sent to the ATAC a recommendation for award. That recommendation was to award the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce as the Town of Bluffton's DMO for the next up to 3 years. And this is requesting approval of that contract. I'm happy to answer any questions.
On the attachments we have shows their budget. It was vetted 3, how many were submitted? How many?
There were 3 total submittals. 1 was non-compliant because it was not a nonprofit.
Any questions, Natalie, on this? So the recommendation is, and the contract, do we go over this contract after we approve this, or is this contract what we're voting on as well?
This is a draft contract.
There'll be some give and take and some
So we'll vet this
modifications, but
contract.
yes, correct.
Okay, any questions? Okay, is there a motion to award a contract to the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce as the Town of Bluffton's designated marketing organization for an up to 3-year term without automatic renewal for additional terms? And that does not mean the contract's approved, right?
The contract is approved for an up to 3-year
Okay.
terms.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Section 1.5, can you go to that, please?
Are you at the contract? That's, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Says that the town may, upon reasonable notice, inspect the necessary financial records. I would like to move that we change that to the town shall, or excuse me, the DMO shall provide, upon reasonable notice, to inspect the necessary financial records.
Okay, we can include that language. We also have above where they'll submit quarterly those expenses for our review as well, and we'll also include that in 1.5.
So are you going to do that and bring this, I guess I'm trying to get this contract. We're going to get that again, right?
Yes.
To talk about, okay.
Contract will have to come back to you once it's shared with the chamber.
Right.
And we get their input back, correct.
Okay.
Why are we voting on it tonight if it's not complete?
We're not voting on the contract.
Oh, okay.
We're voting on the DMO.
DMO designation.
Okay. Okay. You have the note for Councilman Wood, though,
I
what
do.
you'd like to see.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. So we'll see that in July? That one we'll see it? Okay. Okay. Next is item 3 under section 10, consideration and approval of an agreement between, section 4, Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee funding recommendations for quarter ending March 31st, 2019. And resolution of approval of the DMO funding for 2020. Okay.
That's correct.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, third and final item with me.
Okay, got
You
it.
have before you the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee's recommendations for quarter ending May 31st, 2019. There are 6 applicants for this quarter, including the resolution for approval of DMO for funding for fiscal year 2020. To begin, the DMO funding resolution will select the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce to manage and direct the expenditures of the 30% of the balance of state accommodations tax and the up to 8% of the balance of the local accommodations tax. And they have submitted the budget of planned expenditures as required by state law before the beginning of fiscal year, which is $230,000. The next 2 requests are from the Beaufort County Parks and Recreation for 2 tournaments that will both be held in the month of July. The 2019 Dixie Junior and Boys Baseball State Tournament is a 7-day tournament scheduled for July 19th through 25th at Oscar Frazier Park and will host 24 teams all from the state of South Carolina. The next tournament is the 2019 Dixie Youth Baseball Ozone Tournament and is also a 7-day tournament that's scheduled from July 12th through 18th, also at Oscar Frazier, and will host 16 teams. Next is an annual request from the Bluffton Historic Preservation Society. As the town of Bluffton's official welcome center and adheres to the terms of the current MOU, Memorandum of Agreement between the town of Bluffton and the BHPS. The 4th applicant is a request from the Greater Bluffton Convention and Visitors Bureau to support the Visitor Bureau operations. The request is for funding to support the VCB operations with expenses split between the town of Bluffton and Beaufort County. Next is a request from the Hilton Head Island Concours d'Elegance Incorporated requesting funding for advertising and facility expenses for the Historic Vehicle Association special exhibit to be held at Montage Palmetto Bluff on Thursday, October 31st and Friday, May 1st.
And whoever scrolled
Oh,
up. so we
yeah,
can
I'm sorry.
I just want the audience to see it.
Oh. Okay. During their presentation, it was mentioned that 3 historic vehicles are already scheduled, and they're hoping to have 1 or 2 more at the event, as well as a 50-car tour through Old Town Bluffton. And then finally is a request from the Society of Bluffton Artists, commonly referred to as SOBA, for support and advertising for promoting the arts in the Low Country and beyond. So the committee has recommended to fully fund all of the eligible requested amounts with the exception of the Greater Bluffton Chamber or Convention and Visitors Bureau. ATAC recommended a reduction from the request of $47,990 by $4,000 in their rent request to $43,990. Currently, there are $805,681 available for distribution, and this amount is split between state and local ATAX funds. Our vice chair, Jean Wilson, is here, and she and I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. We normally go through individual one by one. So I think let's start with the DMO. The first one.
Okay.
Where's the DMO? So the first is the DMO request for which is just a budgetary resolution.
It's the resolution for
do we
the
have
year.
any questions on the request for the 2020 DMO funding allocations? Thoughts on that? It is what it is. It's a percentage. So if questions on that, other than that, is there a motion to adopt the resolution for the 2020 DMO funding allocations to the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next, so then we'll have our requesting organizations from there. Next is the Beaufort County Parks and Recreation, and they have 2 tournaments, which I'm thrilled to see them coming here. And you're here. I see y'all in the back. Okay, so we have someone in the back to answer any questions. Any questions? I guess on either one of those, we'll vote on them separately. Questions on that? Yes, sir, Mr. Wood.
An observation. I was curious. I do concur. I think it's great for the town, but I noticed in the packet that before it was mentioned a benefit to tourism. Families of players make a vacation out of the tournaments. Prior events have had an increase of over $1 million to our local economy using statistics gathered by the Chamber of Commerce. I would like to see some statistics with that information going forward instead of just a request for funds. You need to put some documentation in there to authenticate that. It would be good for us to have that knowledge.
And it's a good time to get it. I think this will probably be the biggest one yet. So I think you had an opportunity and get with the chamber on how they can help you. I don't know, whatever it is they do to give us a ROI on that. Okay, good suggestion. Any other thoughts on that? Any other questions?
Yes, I'd like to also know where the teams are coming from.
That all teams are coming from the state.
Yeah, they're all from South Carolina. I'm not sure if.
On both of them?
They're both, yes, they're different types of teams.
Do you want to come up and talk to us about it? Okay.
The reason why I asked that question is because there was a comment made about the monies brought in, tourism, et cetera. If it's coming from Ridgeland, all right, I'm not going to see the same impact as a team that's coming from Columbia.
Right, correct. There's 11 districts throughout for each Dixie boys and junior boys, along with Dixie baseball. So they're from the upstate, Midlands area. There will be a host team from Bluffton, but everybody else is, either an hour to 3 hours away.
So they'll have to, most of them will spend the night or
Correct.
spend money eating.
Yeah, I'm sure
walking
even
around.
from Charleston, they're spending the night. So.
On both of these. Okay. And then you had a ponytails. I know that's down, I'm just asking, but they came from all over the country. The Ponytail League. The World Series. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, one curiosity question. Transportation, how do you handle that? To get people around to the fields and stuff?
This is going to be our challenging year because we haven't had as much out at Oscar Fraser Park as we will have this year. But, we do have buses. We have 5 or 6 buses within the Parks and Rec Department. So that's one of the things that we've taken into consideration if we need to shuttle them from Michael C. Riley Park or Buckwalter. We may have to do that. But we're hoping with the schedule, the way that we've aligned it, that we won't have to do that.
But if the teams are coming from out of town, they should probably have their own transportation, right?
They will, but it's the parking that we're worried about at the park.
Are y'all going to be using the Michael C. Riley fields for practice?
Yes, we will. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've seen them there and they're all over town. I mean,
And
they're
they'll be
eating
in
and
Buckwalter
walking
for
and
back cages as well.
I would encourage you to reach out to the Bluffton Bike Taxi and have him hang around wherever he can to drive them. I think it'd be a great, not to pay him, but
Promoting.
I'm promoting travel without getting in a car and turning up the gas. Anyway, anything else? Let's get with the chamber on how best to do this. Let's get some really good data because it'll help you recruit others and it'll help us make it easier to do this in future years. Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions on that? So none. The first item for the Dixie Junior Boys and Boys Baseball Tournament, amount requested $54,950, amount recommended $54,950. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. The next one is for the Dixie Youth Baseball Ozone State Tournament. Amount requested $59,500. Amount recommended $59,500. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What's the date for these tournaments?
The date.
I can answer them if you like.
Yes,
or
no,
Shannon?
you're
Okay.
up. You can answer.
Okay, the Dixie Ozone Tournament is scheduled for July 12th through the 19th, and the Dixie Boys, Dixie Junior Boys is scheduled from the 19th through the 25th, both in July.
Both in July.
Yeah.
Busy month, okay.
Busy month. So any info, they all know to use our logo and all that on it. Let's get all this on Facebook to let everyone know as well. We'll help you however we can to at least get the message out. Okay. Next is Bluffton Historical Preservation Society. The next up is the Bluffton Historical Preservation Society. Any questions of Natalie or who's here from them other than we do have our, okay, oh, right there. Okay. Any questions on this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Great organization, just that I think we need to start paying attention to where all the money's going. And when you look at the budget that as was presented, we're paying the largest portion of the salaries and benefits, and we're paying basically the mortgage and the utility bill and insurance. And we've ended up becoming the largest contributor, and we're like a majority party, and you're like a minority party when you look at the whole picture. So I think we just have to take a hard look at this budget going forward. And I know that the MOA comes up in July annually. And I think it would be a good time for us to consider reviewing that.
And I agree with Dan. And Dan, one point you didn't mention, we also need the repairs, all the repairs. And it's not a town-owned building or property. So, and I've been saying this now probably for 10 years, I would like to see the Hayward House do better fundraising to support some of their expenses.
Any other questions?
I just have one, and I feel confident, I guess, moving forward, but still battling in my mind a little bit where we can use tax money on private property. As I've been battling to get sewer lines run to houses, told we can't use certain monies on private property, so just to make sure that we are within the rules and regulations to build new. I know we can help with repairs, but to build new structures on private property, such as sheds and some of the things that were mentioned.
And those have been removed from their request.
They have been removed?
They have.
Okay.
It would be good to let us know that at some
My
point. I think it'd be,
apologies.
no, it's fine. Because it'd be good for us to just get a refresher. I'm not going to get a refresher.
Yeah.
On really what this can be used for, if it's nothing more than maybe bullets in an email, because I know ATAC does have that, and they do know. So, any other questions? The MO, yes, sir.
I do. Plans in the future as far as any fundraising events that are together by the society?
Kelly, oh, you're up.
Yes, there are.
Just for the record, so she'll have it, just say your name and.
Sure. Several of the upcoming events that we've
Say
planned.
your name.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Kelly Graham,
There.
Bluffton Historical Preservation Society.
Thank you.
The Boiled Peanut Festival that's coming up in September is going to be a fundraiser for historic Bluffton Cocktail Party. Actually, also is a new event this year that is part of the Arts and Seafood Festival. We plan for that to be a major fundraiser, and we are also this year doing our oyster roast again. We were down last year with our building and didn't have room. This year we're going to do that in November. So we've got 3 major fundraisers for the
The Bold Peanut Festival is moving into y'all's purview and no longer in Greater Bluffton Chamber. Okay.
Jared estimated $5,000 to $10,000 in profits from that.
Per event?
Yes. Yeah, for the Boiled Peanut Festival, he estimated $5,000 to $10,000 in revenue.
Thank you. I don't see that in your budget, Kelly. I'm just looking. I didn't, because I was looking under revenues, grants,
Thought I read it
gift shop, special events.
It
I don't-
actually was just put on our calendar, the Boiled Festival. So
Okay. So
revenue's
your,
not even reflected.
so your budget could change.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
May I please, one more
Uh-huh.
question? When I went back through the town budget, and there was the information in our budget that out of around 12,000 tourist visitors to the Welcome Center, I think 58% opted not to do the tour, which I kind of get that. But if you could take and get $1 from every one of those 58% who opted out, that can add up. So I guess what I'm trying to say is try to determine another way to utilize to make funding off of that 58% who are not interested in a tour. That make sense?
Sure.
So the renewal is in July, which is next month. These are items we could discuss or get, who would work with Kelly and the, is it your staff? I think these are items we can send to Mark to put in as conversation pieces, get a new budget, really work to see where we can build memberships and revenue, where you could be sustainable more so. So do y'all want a motion to be contingent upon that renewal and just let them hammer out what they want to do on request? To let them know it's coming? How do y'all want to make this motion?
I think that's a fine suggestion.
I would ask Terry, but I would think we would, to give you the knowledge, we're going to fund this, but we need to renew the MOU.
Yes.
Which is July, and I would suggest we put this renewal the same time we do this. Maybe we make it a June renewal next year, so he can renew his MOU and have it
That makes
done.
sense.
I think that makes sense, because it give you a chance to get that. So contingent upon the renewal of the MOU in July.
When we renew it, we'll renew it for 11 months.
So we'll renew it for 11 months.
We'll roll it to 12
That-
next year.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the motion would be to grant the Bluffton Historic Preservation Society $190,000 in support of the Welcome Center at the Hayward House, contingent upon the renewal of the MOU in July, which will be an 11-month renewal.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? That help? That make sense? Okay. All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Next is Greater Bluffton Convention and Visitors Bureau. Amount requested $47,990, and the amount recommended is $43,990. Any questions of Natalie? Any discussion on this? This is for the Visitor and Convention Bureau setup, right?
It's for the Visitor Bureau operations. They have separated those expenses from the chambers.
Okay. So we've asked for presentations from everybody tonight and MOUs. If this is something that's going new, I'm going to ask, should there not be an MOU, MOA to go through the details of this? I guess that's my question.
I think they should. Business from now on.
Questions or thoughts on this?
Yes, I agree. I had another question about the
Please do.
$4,000 difference. I didn't get a full explanation or didn't understand.
I'm not, Jean's here, and I'm happy to answer.
It doesn't matter.
The budget that was submitted for the chamber as a whole, as well as the Visitor Bureau operations, had the total rent expense as the Visitor Bureau operations. Now, during ATAC, in the presentation by the Greater Bluffton Chamber, there was discussion of difference in rent for the upstairs being for the portion of the chamber and then the downstairs being for the Visitor Bureau operations. But the budget that we had submitted to us had the cost of the rent at $30,000 and then the request being $30,000 for the Visitor Bureau operations. So with it being split between the town and the county, ATAC recommended reducing the rent portion by the $4,000.
That makes sense. Do you want?
Yeah, I was just wondering how that number, how'd you get that number?
So you divided it by 2, and it's up to the county. Did the county give their portion? Do we know that for sure?
I am not aware.
Thank you, first of all, for serving.
There's two. Yeah, we're not aware of whether or not the county is giving their share.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so.
Okay.
But as Fred was saying too, I do agree, if there's one thing that we've had rocks thrown at us for, it's because we don't have contracts. We don't have agreements with different organizations, and I'm 100% fine with helping and see how they do. But I think that we should have an MOA written so that they understand what we expect to get out of the money, and comes next year, as long as everybody does what they're supposed to do and it makes sense, I'm all for it. Just, Terry, that's my opinion now. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels.
Just some guidance from council. If the county money doesn't come through, do you want that to be a contingency in our MOU or MOA that we're funding equally with the county, or what? I guess I need some guidance from y'all on that. And you can think about it. I don't need an answer right now, but I'd like to have a little bit of input on that. I can do a draft, I can circulate it, and you can get back to me.
I don't think it's fair for the Greater Chamber to ask for a 50-50 because they can't determine what either one of the parties are going to agree to. So whatever we want to do, I don't think we should base that upon what the county might do.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
One other observation. This is a first-time request. Again, we're asking for more information, a proper presentation to this council to authenticate and justify their request. But I also want to throw out there that between the BHPS and the Greater Bluffton Chamber, when you put the numbers together, that's $233,990. And one's a welcome center, and now one's a visitor center. And, I think that this council is going to have a hard look at all of this and determine how we're going to move forward in the future.
It was the only one that had a split vote, I noticed. The numbers were pretty good on your categories. Is it something we want to look at? Do y'all want to vote on this? Do you want to have them present to us what this will entail if they only get our half? Would you rather start with an MOA and go from there and, like Mr. Hamilton said, see what we expect for that half, because we can't guarantee they're going to get the other half? What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, my thought is that I do want us to support some of their efforts, but I think we need to have an understanding before we make a financial commitment.
And I'm not totally concerned personally about what the county does. Be to a certain amount, then that's, they have to make that work somehow or another. I would want, if the county doesn't pay but a half of what they asked for, what's that mean for us? Are we going to say we're only going to give you half too, or are we going to give you 3/4 and they're a quarter? You know what I'm saying? So I think their recommendation, what they ask us for, or what our committee has recommended to us, that number shouldn't change no matter what the county does, in my opinion.
Right, but I feel like, again, when you looked at their budget, and we're already talking about the fact of the prior applicant about paying mortgages and salaries and all this kind of stuff, and this same conversation needs to take place openly with this group before we commit funding to it. So I think that they have to come back to this council, do their presentation, let's look at it line by line and figure out what's fair and what isn't fair, because we're already having that dialogue now, and we don't want to go down that rabbit hole until we know exactly what we're willing to live with, as well as them.
Right, so I would say the MOA should be prepared and discussed between staff and them. You know, so we don't have to wait next month and then we say, okay, well, you know, we're going to approve the funds, but we still don't have an MOA. So the MOA needs to be done before our next meeting. And then the presentation comes in, and then we can say, this is what you agreed to, this is what we agreed to, and then it's done.
You add that on can you add that on your workload for a month? Okay, so
So am I hearing council desiring to table this?
Table until next month.
But not authorize the money elsewhere at this point in time?
Right. Okay, so is there a motion to table the request from the Greater Bluffton Convention and Visitors Bureau until July, when there will be a draft MOA and a presentation from the group on how they would use the money they requested from us? That sound good?
Yes.
That would be the motion.
Yeah, it's hard for me to vote on something like this when I don't have any idea what they're going to use the money for. I don't have, path on what they're proposed to use it for. So yes, I would.
So that would be the motion if someone would like to move to make that.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? And a second. Any discussion? So we're slowly getting caught up and getting a little more professional with agreements, which will make your life a lot easier. Any other discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, and thank you, Jean. The next one is the Hilton Head Island Concourse Delegates. Our amount requested $17,005, amount recommended $17,005. Any questions? And I did want to make a comment because Fred had asked me a little bit, and I'll still let you ask the question. The one thing that excites me about this is their participation in the schools with the Michelin project. And this is the third year I think they've had it. And I will tell you, leaving there, the Bluffton kids are really knocking it out of the park with their design challenge and with potential internships and potential scholarships and jobs. And it's part of this, even though their recommendation doesn't talk too much about it. But I did want y'all to know that's something I've been invited to, and I think all of us should go next year to see just the response from our Bluffton and May River High School students. So that's what I was going to explain to you as another portion of this Concord. So you can ask your question as well if you want.
It's nice to know that. I didn't know that before, but other than doing a tour through Bluffton, I don't see how Bluffton gets any anything out of the Concourse d'Elegance. What can, and I'm sure you can answer. Can you answer that?
And I think someone from the Concord is here if they want to get up. Let's see if do you want to try first, or would you rather have her come up?
She can definitely come up. I do know that the cars are going to be on display at Montage of Palmetto Bluff. It's going to be open to the public. People are going to be able to come in and see it. These cars are a huge draw. They are part of the Historic Vehicle Association. And there's only 25 cars registered in this association. We're getting 3 of those cars. That's 25 cars across the entire country, and 3 of them are going to be right here. It's a huge.
Do we ever get ideas of how many Bluftonians are part of this? Because I know several that put in their cars and their boats year to year. So maybe that's a question of Carolyn, if she has the answer. You want to come up? Come up. Come up. And if you would, your name, so.
Yes, I'm Carolyn Van Agel, and I'm the president of the Hilton Head Concours. All right, so, and Mayor Salka, I don't have that answer.
Oh, okay.
Just off the top of my head, but I would say we're probably, on average, we probably have 10 to 15 at least exhibitors in the Concours from Bluffton. There are a lot more collectors out here than folks even realize that are involved in this event. Mr. Hamilton, would you like me to kind of comment on the comment that you made about Bluffton's exposure?
Before you do that, I want to tell you about a few things that Bluffton needs.
Okay. I'm happy to hear those, yes.
We have a lot of nonprofits in Bluffton that could also use some help if the concourse is successful in this year's car show. So offline, can we talk about that?
Sure, of course.
Absolutely.
Happy to do that. Very much so.
Now
Yes.
tell me what you're going to do for us otherwise.
Okay. I'll talk to you at another event about the other. Okay. Mayor Salka commented on what's happening with the Michelin Junior Challenge design, which has really opened our eyes up to the fact that we are an impact not just on Hilton Head, but on Beaufort County. And that is our goal. It's really taking us to the next level, which is that we've got visitors coming in here now. We've got about 30% of our visitors are coming in for 7 days or more, and we want them to visit Bluffton. I'm saying, so by bringing Bluffton in, this opportunity with this exhibit and our new multi-year partnership with Montage Palmetto Bluff, they saw the importance of bringing our universe of folks to come out to Bluffton. So you made the comment about the HVA and the fact that we've got this opportunity to bring these cars that we're bringing in, which we're asking you to participate in. This has never happened in this country other than in Washington, D.C., and even then, the cars aren't shown together. So this is the first time that it's basically like a national preservation of cars. It's like a historic building being designated as a preservation for the historic register. This is with the Department of Interior that these cars are coming in. So in essence, we're applying to get some additional support of bringing these vehicles in, but also for the integration of Bluffton into our event, not just in Bluffton, but on site. So the town of Bluffton will get branding around this exhibit, not just here when the public can go see it at Palmetto Bluff, but also at the Hilton Head property in Port Royal. The town of Bluffton will be visible there. Okay, so that's an important step. I mean, Mayor Salka, you and I talk about we're becoming known as the Concours. I mean, we are the Concours, and it happens to have Hilton Head associated with the name, but really the impact is much bigger. And then the other thing is Mark Orlando and I talked about, since this application was submitted, we now will have these 50 cars coming in, up to 50 cars on the driving tour, which will actually be sitting next to the Hayward House. We're very enthused about working with them, that these cars, to be honest with you, the public has a chance to now see these cars for free. 50 of our Concours cars will be sitting in Bluffton. Okay, on Friday. So that alone is going to bring, quite honestly, a number of people that are now going to come into Bluffton, not just the folks that have the cars, which are our exhibitors, but the public has a chance to come in and see these cars. A lot of folks have never had a chance to do that before.
So they're going to be at the Hayward House one day?
They're going to be in the new park, and I'll say it right. I say Dubois, but it's
Dubose.
Dubois.
Not Dubois.
Dubois. I had to go say.
Dubois.
What's the name of it?
Dubose.
Dubois Park.
Dubois.
My Francophile comes
Just
in
say
here.
Dubose.
Dubose, okay. So those will be then open to the public, having a chance while the visitors are walking around Bluffton, because we're actually going to have the folks from the exhibitors will be doing a walking tour of Bluffton during the time. So we're really excited about this opportunity. I think this is really a first step for us with this.
To put the negotiating weapon in your hand with Councilman Hamilton, he's a car buff.
I know he is. Yes, thank you. Yes, right. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, it'd be good. Please let us know. All things have to be where money's given. You have our marketing logos and all, but please make sure everyone knows when that is, so everyone else can have the opportunity to see what you're doing.
Very much so. I will make sure that all of you are very aware of this, and I would like all of you obviously to participate in this.
I read in the packet, but I can't remember. The cars will be at Palmetto Bluff for how long?
They will be coming in Thursday night to Palmetto Bluff, and those will be the special exhibit will be there. Palmetto Bluff, Montage and Palmetto Bluff are looking at doing a special event Thursday night. That will be a ticketed event to see those cars. That'll be an event that they're doing kind of as a preview event on Thursday night. The cars will then stay through the day on Friday, and Palmetto Bluff will be open up to the public to go see these HVA cars. Okay, that's the important thing, a special exhibit. So that will be also a free opportunity for the public to go in and see these cars. I mean, it's incredibly exciting. And by the way, it will bring in a lot of national media.
And
that's something else.
What date is this?
This would be Friday, November the 1st.
11.
And they'll be at the Hayward House or at DuBois Park?
On Friday. And making sure to kind of not confuse this.
Not those three cars.
Not those three cars, but
Right.
the Concours cars that are on the driving tour. And those cars in their own right are an exhibit to come and see these cars. It's the only time they're ever moving, by the way. You don't ever see these cars driving.
One crashed yesterday on 278 somewhere. I read in the paper or somewhere.
Okay, let's move on.
Thank you for bringing
any
that
other,
up.
Any, let's not,
Any other questions?
any other
Yeah.
questions for this particular request? Amount requested 17,005, amount recommended 17,005. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, and thank you for
Thank
the
you very much. Appreciate it.
questions. Next is the Society of Bluffton Artists, promoting the arts in the Low Country and beyond. The request and the recommendation are the same, which is $14,050. Any questions on this?
What they gonna use the 50 cents for?
I mean, you could have made it 54. So
Well, yes.
Y'all retired by this time.
So move.
Oh, okay. Is there no other discussion? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. One final thing I think you've heard tonight from others, we have a lot of duplication, and we're spending a lot of money, and we are not seeing a tenth of the visitors even that the same amount of money being spent on Hilton Head is getting from others outside the DMO. So I think we've talked to Mr. Orlando individually to really get a handle on this. So this might be passed tonight, but it might not be passed next year. And I think we'll get with our commission and talk to them about where we can cut out duplication, because the message is just going to get very confusing, and people are looking at us, and next year there could be 2 additional groups that want to market Bluffton. So I think we need to hit it while we can. And I just state that because I'm listening to what everyone else is saying, and I hope everyone's listening, that we will make some changes. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for being here tonight for that. Okay. Next is number 5, under section 10. Consideration of a resolution to adopt a revised Appendix A strategic plan action agenda to the Town of Bluffton strategic plan. Scott Marshall, and can everybody look at this that you were given? Does that not look like Scott Marshall? It's in your packet.
He shaved.
It's a very young Scott Marshall. In one of your cars, Carolyn.
It is Scott.
Doesn't it look like him?
It is Scott.
I think it's you, Scott. Not,
Scott,
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Scott, you're supposed to laugh.
you didn't find that funny?
I was busy making sure we were all lined up. I'm sure it was pretty funny, though.
Okay, well, just jump right into it,
I don't
Scott.
think he saw the
I'll jump right in.
Did you see the picture, Scott?
I did. I was flattered, actually.
Yeah?
Nice hat.
I'll have to get a hat like that.
You do, and shave your face. Okay, move on.
Grow some hair.
Grow some hair.
Well, good evening once again. Thank you very much for that compliment. There was a handsome gentleman in that car.
Yes.
As you know, our current strategic plan for fiscal years 2019 and 2020 was adopted in May of 2018, and in it was Appendix A, which is our action agenda, what we refer to as our action agenda. And it contains a list of items that we have identified to support council's objectives. And it also defines the work plan and it drives the budget. So, as is our custom, we meet about 6 to 7 months after we initially passed that, and we had a workshop to serve that purpose in January of this year, where we examined our action agenda items, we received progress updates on them, and we discussed possible new items to add to it as a result of our discussion and evaluation of what we've accomplished thus far. And so what I'm presenting to you tonight is a resolution to support the adoption of a revised Appendix A, which contains an update of all 64 action agenda items that you passed when you initially adopted the strategic action plan. And it also identifies 5 new items as a result of your discussions workshop. And those 5 new items are the 1095 May River Road Housing Initiative, New Riverside Park, the New River Linear Trail, a parking policy amendment, and revision of some town council operating procedures and meeting policy items. And so those are the new items that we are proposing as a result of your discussions at the workshop in January to add to Appendix A, and then providing you adopt a resolution supporting the revised Appendix A. We will then revise the strategic action plan wherever it exists to include online, to have it reflect the revised Appendix A, to reflect appropriately your new priorities and the progress we've made so far on the items you previously identified.
Any questions? It's an add-on from to our Appendix A. It's a resolution, so one and done tonight. Is there a motion to adopt the revised Appendix A strategic plan action agenda to the Town of Bluffton Strategic Plan fiscal year 2019-20?
So moved.
There's second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. There's a consent agenda, and I'll tell you, and so many people ask us what's going on, around town. If you would open these links to this consent agenda under growth management and all the others, you will see what's going on. I mean, it talks about projects in review, what the next steps are, and y'all do a great job. And we never get to discuss it, but we also don't want to stay here until 11 at night. But I always encourage people to go into our website, hit this link, and you'll just see pages and pages and pages of what our committees are, if it was canceled, the links to those committee meetings. It's just really great information. So I encourage you to do it, as well as our town manager's report. It tells you where he is on a monthly basis. So is there anything that needs to be pulled from this tonight? If not, is there a motion to approve the 3 items under consent agenda? There's second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? There was no public comment again, so public comment is closed. Is there a motion to move into executive session for 3 items, personnel matters regarding appointments to boards, committees, and commissions, and that's FOIA 3470A1. The Wall of Honor nominee is 3470A2, and conveyance of Town of Bluffton real property to support public sewer improvement projects, and that's 3470A1. Is there a motion for those to go into executive session? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We are leaving. Y'all can stay. There will be action. We're leaving. Y'all can stay. Is there all in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. And there will be action from our executive session, and I would say 20 minutes maybe.
15.
15 minutes. You're welcome to stay. Dan, you're staying. There you go. You're welcome. 15 minutes. We are out of executive session. No action was taken, no votes were cast.
Be more cautious.
It's Kim's inaugural moment for boards and committees and commissions. Now in charge of it. We're out of executive session, no votes were cast, no action was taken.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
If we can move to Wall of Honor. Kim, what's the recommendation? There's a motion on the floor. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. And next, let's just do the list of reappointments and nominations.
Okay, so we have Jean Wilson to Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee.
As a reappointment.
Reappointment. Affordable Housing Committee,
Engen.
Beautification. Appointment for Jerry Workman. Construction Board of Adjustment. Appointments for David Donald, Scott Middleton. John Ryan for Innovation, reappointment to Negotiating Committee, new appointment and Deborah Edmondson. Planning Commission.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? You're going to call all the applications and just do a refresh and see if any would be interested in others if they qualify. All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Kim. That was a great job on that. Any other discussion? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Done. We've adjourned.
Still live on
Do what?
Facebook?
It was for the Wall of Honor nominee for Prasanna Green.